Earlier this week, we looked at one of the Game Boy Color's entries in the fantastic versus falling block puzzler Puyo Pop with Pocket Puyo Puyo Sun. Pre-advanced Game Boys never got any of their Puyo games released outside of Japan, despite there being 2 on the DMG and 3 on the Color. A real shame, as they're all fantastic ports that translated the source material to the smaller consoles fantastically. By the time the Advance came around, we would finally have a worldwide release of Puyo Pop in 2002, and 3 years later, Europe even got the sequel in 2005. Japan would still get their own one. Kidu Gekidan Haroichiza Haro no Puyo Puyo came out in 2005 as well, and featured characters from Gundam. Ugh. Games in this franchise didn't really change up the formula all that much. It's not like the Tetris series on the original Game Boy, where the handful of different entries were all fairly different from each other. If you've ever played a Puyo game before, you already know how these two games work. You'll control these falling blobs that come in several colours and have to match up 4 or more at the bottom of your play area. Doing so enough will dump garbage Puyo on your opponent's field, and the first player to force their opponent to run out of room wins the round. The best results come from chaining together series of eliminations, clearing one colour that then leads to another set clearing, and so on. Fighting side by side with a CPU or human opponent really changes up the vibe of the game compared to some other falling block puzzlers, especially when going through the story mode. Having opponents able to screw you over really adds a frantic nature to the game. You can't dilly-dally about lining up your next move, as garbage blocks could spawn at any time, and repeatedly. Also, you can't rest on your laurels just because you're miles ahead. Games can turn around really quickly. The charm level has been thoroughly kicked up a notch, with both games utilising the Advance's sound capabilities beautifully, with some super clear voice acting for each character. Sound effects are simple but very satisfying as well. The cartoonish nature of the cutscenes, coupled with the real vibrancy of all the colours, looks really nice and is even quite visible on an OG Advance. Artists often overcompensated with the colours because of how dark the screen was on the original GBAs. The two games are very similar, with the same concept for the story mode. Sure, the characters in FIIBAA have English voice acting, but the Japanese of the first game is just as charming anyway. The main addition that Puyo Pop FIIBAA makes is the addition of FIIBAA mode. Each time you clear a garbage Puyo, your FIIBAA meter goes up. If you manage to get this maxed out, you'll go into FIIBAA mode, which allows you to become much more aggressive on the other player, with a bunch of ready-made chains just ripe for bursting. The more offensive you are in this mode, the better your time in it will be, and should you clear the board here, you'll be well on your way to smashing the opponent. So yeah, a shorter review today perhaps, but there's not a whole lot else to add to what we talked about in Monday's video. And screw it, I'm on vacation this week as it happens anyway. We'll play something more substantial next Wednesday. Any requests? Just let me know. As for these two Puyo Pop titles, you perhaps don't need both, but equally, you can't go wrong with either. Very, very addictive.